Hi guys, welcome back to the Soul Food podcast, a safe space where we talk about God, theology, the Bible, and the Christian life in general. I'm your host, Noma. I know last week I said that would be the last installment on the church or cult series, but your girl thought of a bonus content for y'all, so why not? For today's episode, I will be talking about 3 things not to say to anyone who has been traumatized in whatever capacity you can think of and confides in you about it. And for this particular topic, I am speaking from personal experience on all 3 of these things. Number 1, it could be worse. Guys, it goes without saying that when someone shares a traumatic experience with you that they've been through, it shows that there is a level of trust and transparency in your relationship. The truth of the matter is that we've all been through some kind of trauma in one form or another, and that's because pain is a universal human experience. However, to turn around and say to the victim, it could be worse, belittles their experience, as if to say there is a level of trauma you have to be subjected to before you are allowed to feel some type of way, or that you are the judge of what should be quantified as worse. Because what you're saying to them essentially is that whatever they've been through was nothing, it was minor, and really and truly it could be worse. Like I said earlier, pain is universal, but to compare my pain to your pain or my trauma to your trauma and vice versa is just cruel. What's more is that several clinical psychologists agree that the use of this phrase in such instances can be a form of gaslighting. Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines gaslighting as, quote, a psychological manipulation of a person, usually over an extended period of time, that causes the victim to question the validity of their own thoughts, perception of reality, or memories, and typically leads to confusion, loss of confidence and self-esteem, uncertainty of one's emotional or mental stability, and a dependency on the perpetrator, end quote. Interesting enough, gaslighting was the word of the year in 2022, according to Webster's dictionary, which means that it was the most searched word last year. So people are definitely going through it, but they are also waking up to the fact that this is what's being done to them. Number 2, well, my experience with them is different. Again, according to clinical psychologists, this can also be a form of gaslighting, because when someone shares their pain with you, to respond with, well, my experience with them is different, speaking of the abuser, literally shuts down the conversation. There's no room to carry on that conversation ever, because it's invalidating. As if to say that 2 people can't know the same person and their experience of or with that person be different. The only thing you can do in that situation is to stop sharing your heart and experience with that person, because clearly they can't hold space for you to freely be vulnerable with them. And that's okay. To keep sharing your heart with someone who is gaslighting you, intentionally or unintentionally, is just not wise. Number 3, let me tell you what I went through, then break out into sharing your own personal traumatic experience. In general, I think we could all be better at being effective communicators than a lot of us are. Effective communication includes talking, listening, asking relevant questions, and providing or taking constructive feedback. Don't get me wrong, I understand how uncomfortable or even awkward it might be listening to someone share their traumatic experiences with you that may completely be alien to you. So I understand the natural urge to want to respond by sharing your own traumatic experience with them. I think for some people, they do this as a way to encourage the victim, to let them know that they will get through it, which is all well and good. But my point is that there is a place and a time for that. Sometimes all people want is someone to just listen to them vent, rant, and just get it off their chest, even if nothing changes about their situation. It's called moral support, right? And as hard or awkward as you might feel hearing it, please recognize that it's harder for the victim to open up and be that vulnerable with you. So I think a better thing to say would be things like, I'm here for you if you need someone to talk to, or let me know how I can support you during this difficult time, Or if you know that you don't have the capacity to be there for that person for whatever reason, communicate that to them. So something along the lines of, I'm so sorry you went through that. I want to be here for you, but I currently don't have the capacity to be there for you the way you need me to. So maybe talk to another close friend or a trusted family member or even a therapist about this so that you can get the support that you need. Whatever you choose to say, please do not break out into your own story time as if it's a competition of who's been through the most. Learn to hold space for people's negative emotions and experiences, because we all know that life isn't a walk in the park. And any relationship where all you can talk about is happy stuff, A, is probably not that deep and that's okay. Or B, it could be a sign that it's unhealthy or one-sided. Because I doubt anyone would open up to a shallow friend or family member about painful, traumatic experiences they've been through in the first place. So there you have it, guys. The 3 things not to say to someone who is confiding in you about an abuse they've suffered. That's all for today, folks. Thank you guys for joining me today. The Soul Food Podcast is available on all streaming platforms, so share and subscribe. Stay connected and follow us on Instagram at the Soul Food Podcast. Also, check out my blog at www.christthekingblog.com. In the next coming weeks leading up to Easter Sunday, which falls on the 7th of April this year, I will be teaching on the resurrection. So stay tuned for that. Until next time, peace and blessings.